Hey everyone and welcome back. So in today's video we'll be discussing about the server mode in console. Now as of now we have been playing around with the development server mode, which is useful for testing purposes. However, when you switch to production you will be using the server mode. So let's quickly have a look into what exactly it is and how we can enable it. So as we are discussing that running the console in the server mode, which is the non-dev one, allows customers to have flexibility related to wide variety of option sets that are available within console. Now, in order to make use of the server mode, there are certain important flags that we need to use. The first important flag is the server itself. So this flag provides the way to the agent to start in the server mode. So it tells agent that you have to start in the server mode. So this is pretty easy to understand. Second one is bootstrap expect. So this tells console how many servers in the data center should be there in total. So many times what happens is that if you have a high availability based setup and there can be 3 servers or 5 servers or 7 servers. So how many servers would be there is something that you can specify with this. We'll be discussing about this in detail in the high availability part. The next one is the node. So each node in a data center must have a unique name. So by default console uses the hostname of the machine, but you can actually override it. So for example, till now we have never set this flag of node. However, all the time the console used to take the hostname of the machine. However, in case if you want to override that, then you can specify the node. The bind and the data there is something that we already know. Now, since this is a server mode for production, it is important to store the state data and other important information. So you will be using data there here as well. And the last one is the config directory, where you go ahead and tell console on where to look for the configuration, and the standard location for configuration is considered to be etc console.d. So let's do one thing. Let's jump into practical and start our console with the server mode. Great. So currently I'm in a console 01 box. So if I quickly do a hostname over here, the hostname is console 01 itself. So let's go ahead and start in server mode. So I'll say console agent, then let's specify server. Then the next thing as we're discussing is bootstrap -expect. Now again, at any point, if this is something that you need clarification for on what exactly this does and what is the syntax, all you can do is you can do a console agent -help and you'll get all the available options. So let's quickly look into bootstrap one. Let's go a bit up. So here you have a bootstrap expect is equal to value. It also shows you a little description, set the server to expect the bootstrap mode. Anyways, so if you go to documentation, you'll get much more better clarity and detail on what exactly each one of this means. So let's say bootstrap expect is equal to 1, since we only will be having one server at this moment of time. The next thing that we'll be adding is the node. Now, although the hostname is console 01 for our node, let's explicitly override it. So let's say node and I'll say console server. Then we'll also have to specify the bind. Let's quickly fetch the public IP. So this is the IP here. So I'll say bind here. We'll also add a client of 0000. And the last important thing specifically for persistent, let's say data dir is equal to root console. Great. So let's go ahead and run it. So as expected, our console agent is working perfectly well. And from a different tab, if you quickly do a console members, you should see that the node name this time is console-server instead of console-01. The type is server here. Now if you try to open up the GUI, all you see here is console agent. You are not able to see the GUI here. Now again, one important part to remember is that whenever we run the console agent in the development mode, lot of options are enabled by default. So security is not the best taken care of in the development mode. However, if you're working with the server mode, you have to ensure that you enable thing at an individual level. So if you do not need a GUI, then you will not see a GUI. If you need a GUI, then you have to explicitly enable it. So let's do one thing. Let's quickly do a Control C. And in order to enable a GUI, let's say I'll add a UI and I'll say true. So again, you can get the information more if you do a console agent help. So if you'll see, there is an option of UI which basically enables the built-in static UI server. So let's go ahead and start the console server yet again. So now if you quickly refresh, you should see UI is up, and within the node again, you should see the node name, which is console server, that we had explicitly set. Now similar to this, as we're discussing, that you can also add everything as part of the configuration directory and it will load up. So let me also show you that. So let's quickly go to a directory of console server config that I have created, and inside this directory I have console.hcl. Now if you quickly do a cat on console.hcl, I have already added various options here. So you have data div, you have bind addr, client addr, bootstrap expect, node name, UI is equal to true, and server is equal to true. So this is something that can act as a replacement to the command line flag that we had set. So let's also try it out. So I'll say console agent config dir, let's say root console server -config. And as expected, you'll see that our agent is running. That's great. So at a high level overview, we understood the basics of server mode. We also looked into how various options like UI, if you need, you have to explicitly enable it. Now we have not really discussed about some of the very interesting things that you can do with the server mode. However, as soon as we progress further throughout the course, we'll be discussing about more interesting flags that you can make use with the server mode, and that will also allow you to see the amount of flexibility that you can achieve while running the server mode here. So with this, we'll conclude today's video.